Time to continue the fun of the dungeon crawl. Is that dark to say? Join me today to see what I thought of Book 3 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, The Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of this channel, and thanks for joining me today for a Spoiler-Lite book review with full spoilers at the very end of the episode. If you enjoy this today, be sure to give us a like, and we hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Thanks. I'm talking today about The Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook, which is book 3 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinneman. This book was self-published back in 2021, then was picked up by a subsidiary of Penguin Random House, Ace Books, and republished in October of 2024. The genre? Still fantasy lit RPG. Why did I read this book? Well, it's the next in the series. I'm having a great time working through these books, and I'm already 40% through book 4. I'm already also dreading the moment that I catch up to what has been published so far and have to start waiting for new releases. The setting for this book is still the dungeon crawl created out of the remains of the planet Earth by an alien corporation. This book focusing on the events and mysteries, the struggle of the 4th level of the dungeon, a veritable maze of subways and train tracks, along with various stations and depots and other things related to such track-based travel. Spoiler-Lite review, here we go. Carl, Princess Donut, Donut's pet velociraptor, Mondo, their newer party companion, Katya, and their manager, technically Princess Donut's manager, Mordecai, are facing new challenges here in this book, harder than anything yet seen, as the drop to level 4 of the 18 levels of this dungeon turns out to be pretty intense. The number of human survivors continues to plummet, including losses of ones they've worked with before, people from previous levels that they really feel the pain of seeing gone. And challenges now are coming from enemies that they've made along the way, both in fellow crawlers that aren't playing nice, and from amongst the aliens who are viewing, wagering on, and otherwise seeking corporate and or political profit through this show. The dungeon seems, this level, impossible at first, as all surviving crawlers are scattered through various different disconnected levels of subway cars and trains, zipping through various tunnel lines. They can only be in contact with each other in a couple of ways. Some of them have connected through the game's chat. That's how Carl checks in and finds out the various different scenarios that they've all been suddenly dropped into. Plus, there is still the Desperado Club, so some of them can eventually connect through that. They all find something rather similar in their predicament. They have learned that this is a level where certain stations are where they can escape, can get down to the next level. But none of those stations appear to be ones they have any access to. They can't get to them. The trains and subways aren't headed that direction, and there doesn't seem to be a way to back them up or turn it around. And then the stations they can get to, they're full of mods, creatures, monsters that would like nothing less than to rend them to itsy-bitsy pieces. Add to this the Borand Corporation, who's running the show this time, shortened the time of this level from its normal traditional standard. They have far less time than usual when they're facing a mystery that seems unsolvable. The deck seems to truly be stacked against our crawlers. What can they do? Will anyone survive? What can you do when things seem impossible? Well, in this book series, we're already learning that that's when you throw Carl into the mix. And if you assumed that was not going to happen here, you haven't been paying attention. But there's much more to this tale than just Carl blowing things up. We've got massive twists, tons of deaths, shocking betrayals, and extreme loyalty and heroism all on display. As the stakes get higher in this dungeon crawl, the scum gets scummier, but the cream rises even higher. Am I allowed to mix metaphors like that? My episode, my wording choices. One more key element of the plot to point out, we get to learn something quite special about Carl's class, his compensated anarchist role. And it's awesome, but I'm not telling you about it because, spoiler light, you want to know the details, go and read the book. Or stick around for the full spoil section if you've read it already. Plot depth. Despite this being LitRPG, which some consider a rather shallow version of fantasy literature, this book and series continues to lean into a layered plot development, with the surface struggle impacted by characters with deep motivations and personal struggles growing and adapting under the weight of the dungeon crawl struggle. At the same time, there is that whole background plot, this twisted system of planetary exploitation for riches and gain, including through the annual Dungeon Crawl Entertainment broadcast. Is this truly a viewed spectacle of quality programming, or is it more like bread and circuses? And can the system hold, or is breakdown imminent? All this and more is baked into this story, and it's growing more and more interesting. For characters, well, Carl and Donut continue to serve as our primary focus characters, with Carl being protagonist 1, Donut 1A. We're really getting this story through Carl's eyes, and honestly, Donut is a cat. So her perceptions of what's going on around her, they're not quite as well informed. She's not as perceptive as she ought to be. Although we are learning more in this book that Donut is catching on to more than she lets on. Other key characters that I appreciate here are Mondo, the Velociraptor companion bonded to Princess Donut, adding ferocious combat support along with much-needed comic relief. Then Katya, their add-on to the party since the last book. Katya is being guided by Carl and Mordecai in how to level up as a character and learn how to understand the game mechanics that match her race and class, and she's really making big steps forward. Her relationship in all of this will grow significantly, even transformatively, over the course of this book. Additionally, Carl continues to maintain and grow relationships with other crawlers around the level, including Imani and Elle McGibbons, survivors of that nursing home group from book 1. Elle has turned quite badass. No longer a senile and frail elderly woman, but rather a powerful frost maiden. We're going to see her on display in this book. Dungeon transformations may not all be that bad. For writing style, Dinneman wrote a tangled adventure of a book here. It could have been quite frustrating to read. As part of the fun of these books is puzzling out with the characters what the heck is going on and how are they going to overcome it so as to advance to the next level. Dinneman wisely states with a foreword in this book, basically, don't try to figure out what's going on. You won't. You can't. You literally will not be given enough clues yet. That's part of the mystery. So instead, just focus on the struggle the characters are having, see what they experience, see how they grow through it, and trust that all will be made clear in time. That mindset truly helped me to get the most out of this story. It totally worked. Basically, Dinneman gives you guidance on how best to enjoy this particular story, and if you follow it, it's brilliant. If you skipped that part, or just ignored his recommendation, you might have been kind of frustrated, and you probably did not enjoy this book as much as I did. Your loss. For themes, this time around, some similar themes to the previous books. Resistance and rebellion is one that I've got here, though, that's growing. Carl, he does not like being stuck in this thing, and while he's doing his best to survive and advance, he's also got this constant mantra in his head, you will not break me. And anytime he can do the opposite of what they seem to be pushing him to, he's finding a way to do that. But survival and strategy is another theme, because you have to figure out how to survive. This is a very hostile environment. If you are weak, if you aren't going to try, if you won't be innovative, it's going to eat you up. Trust and alliance is another one here. Carl and Donna encounter many other contestants, and they lean into forming alliances with others. How can we use each other's knowledge and skills to accomplish more than we could on our own? Satirical commentary, though, would be the final theme here, because this book, it's truly a satire on reality television and societal structures. He's using this book to give us a great story of its own, but also to critique much of entertainment today in our culture, and also some of the things we do value in this society. For warnings here, similar to previous ones, there's graphic violence, there's murder involved here, there's sexual content, although that's not really in your face. There's nothing graphic on the page, there's a lot implied. Addiction and substance use is here, especially alcohol, but some other things as well. Animal death and child death are both things that are elements of this story. So it's kind of dark, it's intense at times. These things might not be your thing. You might not enjoy it if that seems to rub you the wrong way, but the way he uses it in his dark, comedic, fantastical, sci-fi-ish way works for me. My rating of this book is a 4 out of 5. I gave the last one a 5 out of 5. I enjoyed this book for many of the same reasons as the first book, but the choice of the dungeon level format was actually not as interesting to me as the previous one. It was still great. It's devious, it's twisted, just not quite as fun to read. Another strong book, 4 out of 5 is not a poor rating. I definitely recommend this novel. I'm just saying I thought the second one was a little better than this. Just a little. I could have said 4.5, but I don't like to waffle. I'm definitely continuing on, as I said, almost halfway through book 4. This is where you stop if you haven't read the book yet. Thanks for watching. I hope you will get into this series if you haven't already come at least this far. And I hope you will continue with our channel. Like, subscribe. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.
The Spoiler Room.
So you're still here. You've read the book. All right, here's some full spoil comments now, things I'm glad to talk about. The Cookbook, the Anarchist Cookbook. What a delightful element to add to this story. We're going to get a whole bunch of extra pieces of information here. And I love the fact that it's clearly been held by many other previous crawlers, all of who died. And yet, Carl's going to be able to do some things, access information that's just marvelous. I know Dinneman's got some good plans for this sucker. This is going to be fun. The return of the Maestro, who we thought was dead, in the body of the god Groll. Dang! But that turns into an epic scene. Not only with Carl going toe-to-toe with an unbeatable god when his plans for it, of course, fall apart, and not only surviving for a while by being very quick on his wits, lucky, having just the right tools, and understanding the game mechanics well enough to adapt quickly, but also he survives because of the loyalty, bravery, and determination of his companions. There's a saying that your character is defined by the people who care about you. Carl clearly is a man of high character. The boss battles in this level, ridiculously hard. I mean, unwinnable. The game is cheating. And yet, there is always a way through if you can find it. Dinneman's creativity remains impressive. I enjoy Princess Donut's desire to play to the paparazzi. She loves her social status. It fits well with her cat character. Honestly, she's helping Carl immensely with that aspect to her personality. I'm interested to see where that goes. The betrayal by Hecla, and at least some of Brynhild's daughters, not completely unexpected. We had hints of it. There were indications something wasn't on the level. Just the whole thing of Katya being with them for all this time and how she had come to be with them was a little sketch. But I loved how that played out, how that came about then, and how Katya is now a full-time member of their party. Awesome. Also awesome that she got Hecla's amazing bow. That crossbow. We're going to see some good things there, I'm pretty sure. The AI continues to add interesting elements to this story. Sometimes it shows it's not quite playing on the level, favoring Carl and Donut more than it should. Maybe other times playing dirty. This is truly an interesting element to the story. How long can Carl and Donut bait the maestro and his family before it truly comes back to bite them? You might say it already came back to bite them. And things did get pretty close in this tale, but they survived and they're still sticking their tongue out, giving the finger to the maestro and his family. Of course, there seems to be internal struggles in the family too, because the sister seems to be helping them a little bit. This whole thing is screwed up and perhaps signifies how badly the galaxy is screwed up. That might be a plot element that we're going to lean into more too. All right, that's what I have for you. What are your thoughts on this book? Anything you want to say about my thoughts? I'd love to see your comments. I will respond. Also, we love to interact with people who watch our videos, so look in the show notes for other ways you can get in touch with Zach and I. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.